Mhm. Okay. All right. Well, then we can just move on.
This is Kent with Cleaver Farm and Home, and we're on day 3 of our sheep and goat classes. First day, we talked with Ryan Pace at SDK Genetics. Second day, we talked with Dr. Don Bliss and Kyra Woods with Merck Animal Health. And we're going to wrap everything up today with Dr. Clay Elliott with Purina. He's going to wrap everything up with nutrition and management, and I will turn everything over to Dr. Elliott.
Hey everyone, for those of you who are expecting to see Garth Brooks or someone like that today, a celebrity, I'm sorry. I'm the best that these folks could round up to talk to you. And so my apologies are up front, but we're going to talk about some sheep and goat nutrition. And really and truly where I want to head today is I'm assuming that most of you that are in the sheep business and the goat business have already turned your bucks out or are getting very close to turning them out, and breeding season will be done in a matter of 35, 40 days for most of you, and then that'll kind of be the end of it. And so there's really, in my opinion, there's probably not a whole lot that I can help you with or share with you in terms of getting your ewes prepared to breed or getting your bucks prepared at this point. I mean, we're kind of past that. So I guess to me, one of the things that I think is probably very critical and very important, and something that I think that we often overlook, is what's going on through gestation. So once those ewes are and those are bred, I know for many folks, we have the bucks out, we've got the ewes taken care of, and man, now we've got to wait 5 months until babies show up. And so what do a lot of us do? We turn those girls back out to pasture, and we kind of forget about them. And to me, that's probably one of the taboo things that we need to avoid. And the reason for that is because there are so many things that are going on through those trimesters and through gestation that really require nutrition, require some fat and some mineral and some supplementation like that to help those girls do their job and do it the best they can. And so what I'd like to do for this kind of segment is just talk to you a little bit about something called epigenetics or prenatal programming. What's going on with that fetus and what's going on with mom for those 5 months before she has babies. And Lord knows we've all went through plenty of problems. We've probably had plenty of issues, and boy, if we could just correct a few things, I think it would make lambing and kidding season a whole lot easier and a whole lot better for us. And so that's what I'd kind of like to share with you. I'll share with you some triumphs, some tribulations, some positives, some negative things that I've learned over the years, and how we've kind of worked our way through them, if that's okay. But where I'd like to start first is what's going on with mom after she's bred. What's happening? And so we're going to do just a little quick trip down kind of reproduction. Let's talk a little bit about that. And so once those gals are pregnant, it takes about 45 days for that fetus, for that embryo to actually implant and become a fetus. So what we need to do is we need to have everything going right, and we need that baby to stick to the sides of the uterus. We need it to get blood flow. We need to get the placenta situated. We've got to get everything rolling correctly in the first 45 days, okay? And if that doesn't happen, guess what? Those ewes then slough that pregnancy. They have to heal back up internally, and then they have to rebreed. And so if things aren't right the first 45 days, then we have set ourselves back significantly in terms of getting that ewe or doe to breed. And then if you think about the time lost right there, and then if we have to wean that animal, that baby, 60 days later than the rest, what does that do to your weaning weights? What does that do to bloom and growth and performance, etc.? And it sure wrecks the uniformity of your group if you don't have those ewes and does breeding, bred, and carrying those babies through term. So that's something that we need to think about, is the first 45 days. And so nutritionally, I know for years back when I was a kid, and my granddad and my dad, we turned those bucks out and we'd pull them back in, roughly 60 days later. And whatever was bred, and whatever was open. And at that time, we didn't even have the ability to ultrasound or preg check those ewes. So heck, we'd run open ewes all through the winter. And boy, that's pretty profitable, right? Especially if we're talking about commercial sheep and goat production. Why, the last thing we can afford to do is run open females. And so how are we going to increase our chances of keeping those gals bred? And that's where I think nutrition and mineral supplementation really fits in. So as we talked about, the first trimester, that's where the placenta that's developed. That's where that baby is attaching to the uterus. And guess what? The organs actually start developing pretty early. So that would be heart. The lungs actually start to develop, kidney, liver. All of those things are developing very early on. And if we don't have those mamas in good condition and keep them in a positive plane of nutrition, and not let those gals get thin, deprived of mineral, etc., then hey, everything hopefully develops normally. And I know we've all had those ewes that have sloughed lambs, or they've bred, they've passed over. They're pregnant, and son of a gun, 60 days later, there's nothing there. That ewe rebreeds. If the buck's still out, she rebreeds. And you wonder what happened. Well, what if it was just that we weren't doing our job as managers, taking care of those ewes with enough nutrition and proper mineral? What if we could help ourselves with only nutrition? Excuse me. And I think that traditionally we forget about some of that stuff for those 4 or 5 months of gestation. We all think about it the last 30 days. We say, oh my gosh, those ewes are getting heavy. They're starting to bag up. We better start feeding them. We better start getting them a little healthier, a little stronger, so that they're in proper body condition to lamb, so that they milk, so that colostrum quality is good. Yeah, we need to do that. But what about those 3.5 months prior to? And so the first trimester, that's placenta, that's our organs. Those things are relatively important. Second trimester, though, that's where, especially some of us folks that are involved in the show animal business, we want to talk about muscle tissue, muscle mass, bone, skeleton, just those things that we're real interested in from a terminal standpoint. Performance, okay, we want animals to grow. Man, guess what? That stuff is all being determined in the second trimester. And what if we've let mom get thin and she's doing okay, but she's losing body condition, and we don't have the mineral out. And then we have these old lambs that hit the ground, and we say, gosh, that buck we used, he was sure thick and he was sure big boned, and I sure thought that he was big enough. And man, we've got these little old knot-headed rat looking lambs. I wonder why. Apparently that didn't match. That was a genetic problem, apparently, right? We didn't do a very good job of selecting bucks and mating them, etc. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe we did just fine, but we forgot to do a little management along the way in terms of putting an AccuRation tub out through gestation and keeping that mineral feeder full. Maybe we're not getting everything we need out of those animals genetically because we're not taking care of mom through gestation. So just food for thought. Something else that happens in the second trimester, and that's all of your reproductive, things, your details with reproduction. Okay, let's say that you're interested in doing some embryo work. Okay, you're a full-fledged progressive breeder, and you want to do some embryo work. And man, we want to keep our best females out of these ewes that we've got pregnant right now, and those may be our future donors. Well, did you know that if nutrition is deprived during the second trimester, that we could in effect be causing this ewe's females to not be as reproductively sound as we would like them to be? You know that this offspring, this female offspring out of this ewe that we're starving right now in the second trimester, all of her future embryo, her eggs, her ovums are all developed in the second trimester. And so if we're not taking care of mom, we could in effect be causing problems for her daughters maternally in the future. Same thing for bucks in terms of fertility and that kind of stuff. So my point is, don't keep replacement females back out of ewes that were deprived during the second trimester, because fertility will be affected to some degree. So if you want to maximize genetics in terms of muscle, performance, bone, fertility, etc., don't skimp on nutrition in the second trimester. It will have an effect on the future of that lamb and kid crop. So food for thought. So there's the first and second trimester. What the heck's going on in the third trimester when we all think, oh my gosh, it's time to start taking care of our does and our ewes? You know, there's only really two big things happening, and they're only minor, right? 75 to 80% of fetal growth is happening at that point. So the majority of fetal growth happens in the third trimester. So if you want to have a group of little bitty, skinny, weak lambs, man, that'd be the greatest time to sacrifice and not feed them. But if you want to feed those gals and you're looking to get those babies to come out strong and vigorous, and you need mom to have strength to go into labor and push and get those babies out there, then we need to feed them. We need to take care of them. Now, I'm not telling you to open the self feeder on those ewes in the last trimester, because you're going to get 75+% growth, and you might end up with some pretty big lambs, pretty big kids. But I think there's a happy medium in there. I think we can't forget about them. So with that being said, that's kind of in a nutshell what's going on in terms of 3 trimesters that those ewes and does are pregnant. So let me share some stuff with you that I've learned over the years, and I learn every day. So I may change my whole story next week, but I learned lots of stuff. But many years ago, my wife Lily and I, we run a group of ewes here, and so we're not just telling you stories. We actually are in the game. And man, one year I had a group of older ewes. These were 5, 6, 7-year-old ewes, and man, I thought that these gals were in pretty good shape. I thought we'd done our part in terms of keeping them in pretty good rig, but son of a gun, these gals, the last 10 days, 2 weeks before they were due to lamb, they all were going down on us. We had ewes that were weak. They went down, they couldn't get back up. And you know what? They went into ketosis, which is twin lamb syndrome. We had, what that is a negative energy balance. Those ewes could not consume enough energy to keep up with their strength. Those lambs are pulling because they're growing so fast in the 3rd trimester. And those ewes couldn't keep up nutritionally, and they got weak and they went down. Well, what we figured out, yeah, that was all true. That's what happened. What we figured out, though, is that our mineral many years ago did not have any calcium, or very little calcium in it. And what happened is those ewes went down because those babies were growing so fast and they were pulling so much calcium from mom that they started pulling it from mom's bone work. And that's what got those ewes to go down to start with. And they got so sore and it hurt them so bad. And I know for a fact that I've got folks that are listening to me right now saying, yeah, that's happened to me. And I wasn't sure why it did or how it happened, but I'll tell you why it happened. It's because they weren't getting enough calcium, and that calcium supplied traditionally through a very high quality mineral. And what we figured out is, we got through it. We had to pull lambs, we had to induce labor, we had lost some ewes. I mean, it was a train wreck. I'll just tell you, my wife was in tears almost every day, and she's like, what's going on? What are we doing wrong? Et cetera, et cetera. It was bad. Just tell you, it wasn't very much fun. And you know what we figured out? It was a calcium deficiency. And if we could have kept enough calcium in those mamas through gestation, we could have avoided the majority of that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that if you feed a high calcium mineral, that all of your problems are going to go away, because I'm smart enough to tell you that's not always true with sheep. If you have sheep or goats, that's not true. But what I can tell you is the next year, once we finally got onto a high calcium mineral, those same old ewes that had trouble the year before, we only had a handful of them, 1 or 2 instead of 20 of them go down. Okay? 1 or 2 was a lot more manageable than 20 that we were trying to shove propylene glycol in, and fat and energy and anything we could shove into them to keep those ewes up and going. And all we had to do was feed high calcium mineral. And that's really kind of where the wind and rain sheep mineral came. That's how it evolved. Okay, it was through a train wreck at the Elliott farm. It's where that high calcium wind and rain mineral came from, because we needed something that would help us get through and help our older, mature ewes get through gestation and keep them up and going so they could do their job. So, tell you another story that happened to us. Clay decided that he was going to had a nice set of March and April born ewe lambs one year. And we have a pretty good market for our young lambs. Those Marches and Aprils for the spring shows in Oklahoma and Texas. And so I thought, let's get these ewe lambs in production. Let's breed them. Let's turn the buck out. Let's get some lambs out of them. My wife, she pleaded with me prior to breeding those ewes, and she said, "Oh, Clay, please don't do that. Please don't breed them. They're too little. They're too young. We're just going to have problems." Of course, I got a PhD, and so I know a lot more than my wife, right? So I bred them. And you know what happened? We had more damn problems than we could shake a stick at. And my wife, instead of telling me, "I told you so," she was down there trying to get those ewe lambs, to get those babies on the ground. And again in tears, working her heart out, trying to do this. And I'm with her. I'm trying to help her. But you know what? Those ewe lambs didn't dilate. When they started to lamb, okay, they were pushing, okay, but that cervix didn't dilate. And so those ewe lambs could not get those babies out. And so we had to go in there, and goat folks, listen up, because those of you that are in the boar goat business, you deal with this too, the cervical dilation problem. Had to go in there and manually manipulate the cervix, massage it, open it up, and holy cow, if you've done this, it takes 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, and you're laying on your belly, your elbows deep in the backside of a small ruminant, trying to massage a cervix to get babies out. And every minute that you're messing around on the backside of that ewe, that baby is losing oxygen, and they're getting weaker, and we're losing them. Bottom line, we're losing them. Do you know that the majority of cervical dilation issues in small ruminants is based upon calcium uptake, mineral, supplying a mineral that has enough calcium in it? And you know, I never bred my April-born ewe lambs again after that, because my wife taught me a lesson. But we have continued to breed bigger ewe lambs. And if we keep those gals on that high calcium wind and rain mineral, we don't have near as many problems with cervical dilation. One of the other things that I noticed was a byproduct of this calcium was, if these old gals were on this particular mineral, and this was a byproduct, this was not designed. I had no idea this would happen until it happened. Okay, so I'm not trying to tell you that I'm smarter than anybody else. It just happened. But because these ewes were on a mineral, a quality mineral that has some bioavailability, that has zinc and manganese and calcium and cobalt and the things that those gals need, and it's in a bioavailable form, which means that they can use it. They're not just peeing it out. They're not just passing it through. They're actually using it. These gals feel better. They move more. And what we noticed was that our mature ewes, the last week, 10 days prior to those gals lambing, we saw them laying down on their side, pulling their heads back, pushing their legs back, and they were stretching. They were stretching and moving, and they were working harder to move that fetus and position that fetus properly so that things would work properly. And so I would tell you that I really feel like that we've got a mineral that needs to be utilized. If you're in the sheep and goat business and you want to eliminate some of the problems that you see and help yourself in terms of management come lambing time, if you'll take care of those mamas through gestation just a little bit better. And what I mean by that is keep mineral out. And I'm not telling you to go dump 3 pounds a day of Delta lamb and ewe to those ewes. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you, monitor them, keep track of those gals, and make sure that they continue to be in a positive plane of nutrition and a positive body condition score. Body condition score of 1 to 1.5, even 2 is probably a little thin. Okay, that's on the thin side. Start talking about 5 body condition score. We've got bone fat and chest fat, and we've got those gals way too obese. And that's not good for gestation and parturition either, because if they're that fat, they don't have enough. They're not in good enough shape. They're not in good enough physical condition to push and go through labor like we need them to. Those contractions aren't as intense. And so we need those gals to stay somewhere between a 2.5 and a 3.5 body condition score. 3 is ideal. Some of our ewes run around a 4 here at the place. I like those gals to start lambing in about a 4, because I know that they're fixing to be milking pretty heavy, and I want them to milk. I don't want to have to rely on creep feed for them babies, even though I believe in it. I'm not saying I don't, but I don't want to have to rely solely on creep feed to get my babies in condition to sell. I need those ewes to do their part. That's what they're for. If we breed the production and productivity out of those females, then what the heck do we have them for? They need to do some of their own work. And so if we have those gals in proper body condition, and we're supplementing those gals with an Accuration high fat tub, and I'm a big believer in that tub, mainly because of the fat in that. That's a 10% fat tub, and I like fat. And the reason I like fat so much is because we have found through research that the higher the fat level, or the more fat that we can put in mom, that we can actually increase the fat level of her milk that those babies are consuming. And if we can add fat through the milk to those babies, that's what allows those babies to grow, get bloomy, perform. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that we can't replace. We can add fat to creep feed, all that good stuff, but you know what? Those babies aren't going to really eat that creep feed until they're 4 to 5 weeks old. They're not going to just jump in and hit that feeder hard until they're that age. So where are they going to get their main source of nutrition the first 4 weeks? From mom. So let's get mom to do her work the best we can the first 4 weeks that those babies are on the ground. And then we can supplement with some creep feed and keep those babies growing and going. So anyway, that's a little bit of what's going on through gestation, why I think it's really, really important to take care of mom through gestation, and why I think that the need for mineral and keeping a high calcium mineral available to those gals through gestation, and especially through parturition, it'll just save you an awful lot of headache and a lot of trouble, I think, and you'll enjoy the lambing and kidding season a bunch more. When we talked about the wind and rain mineral, well, we have reformulated the Purina goat mineral back. It hit the market back in the spring, maybe first part of February, and that is it emulates the sheep, the Purina sheep mineral in terms of the calcium and some of the nutrients that are involved. We reformulated that so that we could potentially help our folks that were using the wind and rain sheep mineral in their goat herds for that extra calcium. So we've reformulated the Purina goat mineral as a really good source of the bioavailable or Avela zinc, manganese, cobalt, and copper. Where the sheep mineral doesn't have copper, the goat mineral does. And so those of you that are in the goat business, if you're using our mineral, you will not need to be supplementing copper with copper boluses, etc., to add copper to their diets. The mineral will supply plenty. So with that being said, do you folks have any questions for me? I would be glad to do my best to answer, and hopefully we can squelch some questions for you.
Hey Clay, this is Kent, and
Yes, sir.
at Cleaver's we decided to put all of our sheep and goat stuff on sale.
Awesome.
And if you go to the Purina Accuration sheep and goat high fat tub, we've got that thing down to $75.99, and
That's good. That's a good price. You might need to send some of that to Oklahoma.
Well, what we figured it out is at a three-quarter pound intake, that's 29 cents per head per day.
Awesome.
So when we've got the mineral on sale, we've got the 16% grower on sale, dairy goat on sale. So we're ready to run on goats for the month of October.
Yeah, you guys are in good shape. Right now is the time to stock up. Those are good prices.
So one of the other things is somebody asked, is there any new products or anything in the works coming down the line on sheep and goats that you can let us know?
We've always got stuff going on here. I will tell you, and let's talk about something that just hit the market here not very long ago, and that's our Clarifly mineral, our fly control mineral. I think that must hit 1st of May. I think is when that hit the market. And that thing has taken off extremely well. We have a balancer, a B136 concentrate balancer that we've also added Clarifly to. So those of you folks that are having fly issues, you have sheep in your barns, goats in the barns, and flies are out of control, man, you need to look into this Clarifly stuff. It is phenomenal. What it does is it actually breaks the life cycle of the fly. It's not a repellent. It doesn't keep the flies off the ewes. What it does is it kills the flies before they develop. Okay, at the larval stage, it actually decimates the exoskeleton of that baby fly, and so it can't grow up. So it'll take roughly 21 days for you to see the entire fly cycle break. But I can assure, I put a thing up on my Facebook page here a while back in our show barn where our lambs are, my kids' lambs are at. And before I used the fly control, and then 21 days later, roughly, I took a picture or took a video of the flies or lack thereof. And it's remarkable. And I tell you, we've had nothing but positive responses to those that are on that and what it does. And so it will take away the need for sprays, poisons, insecticides, etc. inside your barns. It's just amazing what it does. Now, I will tell you some kind of neat things that we're working on. And I tell you, we're working really hard on a couple of things, and that is a reproduction-based tub that will help us with those folks that are interested in AI and embryo work. It'll be a low-protein, high-fat tub that will have some immune support stuff. It will have pre and probiotics, and it will have things that will help us in terms of blood circulation, vasodilation, so that we can move blood faster. We can keep those animals cooler. We're doing the research on that stuff so that we know for a fact what we've got is better and will work for you folks and for me. So we're doing that. Another thing that we're working really hard on is, and it may not have any effect on you folks there, but feedlot business. We are working hard on an immune support concentrate that we can put into our feedlot diets for those folks that have goats and lambs on feed. We're talking those folks that are feeding 50, 60, 100,000 head of feeder lambs. One of the biggest problems that those folks see is chipping fever when those lambs and goats come in. They've been out on pasture with mom. They wean them. They put them on a truck and send them to a feed yard. Okay, big change. They've never had creep feed before. They don't know how to eat. They don't even really know how to drink out of a trough or a water tub, whatever. And so we're working really hard and pairing with some feedlots in Colorado. They're doing helping us do some research. And so working on that kind of stuff. We're working on a receiving tub for those folks to help them diminish their death loss when in the first 2 weeks of those lambs entering a feed yard or goats. Boy, they see a lot of death loss and a lot of sickness, and we're trying to help them reduce that. So we have some really cool things going on. And I tell you what is I'll tell you something really, really that frustrates me about Purina. And one of the things that I really love about Purina are the exact same thing. And that is, we can't bring these products out as fast as some of our competitors and make as big and bold of claims as some of our competitors. And that frustrates me because we can't get there fast enough or whatever. But what we can do is once we get there, we know our stuff works. We didn't just take a guess and assume and speculate. We've actually worked on it and proven it and done research in our research farms. And we have producers who are paired with us to help us learn and make better and scrap things that don't work. And so that's to me one of the coolest things, and also one of the drawbacks is once it hits the market for Purina, you can rest assured that it's been tested multiple times, and we're pretty sure it's going to work for you. So pretty cool. Good question.
Hey, Clay, I got my phone, just got a text. They want to know
Yeah.
how the B136 balancer, how do you use it, feed it? How does it work?
Yep, perfect. What that is a concentrate that you folks would use if you're grinding your own feed, you have your own corn supply, your own corn oats, maybe some hulls, maybe you're going to mix it there at the feed mill. It's just a concentrate that has vitamin and mineral pack, a protein supplement in it that will help kind of balance that ration for the grains that you're supplying. And so what it is that, I'll generate some formulas for you if you folks have an interest and you've got feed ingredients. And I do this every day, and that is design rations with that B136 and even the goat charge concentrate, depending on what you're wanting to do, whether it's breeding season, gestation, lactation, whatever. We'll design some rations with that concentrate. So, yep, that's it. It is a great concentrate that helps you balance your nutrition of your own ingredients. Is what it is. So,
Okay. Well, Clay, that's the questions that I have. We appreciate everything you've done, and we appreciate everybody as Okay, please, we just got one in. Please repeat the name of the fly control.
Clarifly. Central Life Sciences makes that product. The same producers of Alticid in our cattle business. Clarifly, and this works on house flies, barn flies, that kind of stuff. Not so much the horn flies that Alticid works on out in the pasture. This is more of a house fly, barn fly type thing that for those animals that are confined.
What is it? We got another one. What is it available in? Is it just mineral?
It is available in our Purina sheep mineral with Clarifly, and it is also available in the B136 balancer for sheep. We do not have it. It's also available in high octane supplement, Clarifly high octane fly control. And so if you have a need for, maybe just feeding a handful of show lambs or show goats or show pigs, even steers, whatever that are in the barn, you can use that high octane supplement. Works really well.
Hey, Clay, we appreciate you and all the effort you do and helping everyone increase their herd. And we've had a pretty good 3 days here, from breeding to deworming to all the way to kidding and lambing. And we'll have this on our Facebook page, plus it'll be sent to our YouTube page, so it'll be archived there. And once again, Clay, we appreciate you and Purina for all your.
Yep, thank you guys. I hope this helps. And if you folks have questions, why contact these folks at Cleaver or Bud Meredith, and we'll get in touch with you. We'll try to figure out if you got something going on or you have a question. We'll try to figure it out.
Thank you, sir.
See y'all. Have a good one.